Food is an essential for human existence, hence its availability or otherwise is critical to the economy. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, says rising food insecurity and poverty may mar Nigeria's economic growth rate. In its World Economic Outlook report, IMF also listed high debt service as one of the challenges facing economic recovery in the country. Meanwhile, the federal government reaffirmed its commitment to bringing down inflation and growing the economy. The Minister of State for Budget and National Planning, Kenneth Agba, said the economy is making a lot of progress due to consistent performance in recent times. Did they?
Well,
consistent performance in recent times.
I don't know what he meant by consistent performance in recent times, but I know that since 2014, we've not had single-digit inflationary figure.
Yes, double digit all the way.
Been double digits. It's been double digits, and things are a lot worse for our people because of this problem of food insecurity. Food prices are going up astronomically because people can't access the farms. A lot of, I remember, if you remember the story I did on the high price of rams.
Okay.
In Abuja.
Yes.
On the eve of Salah. They said farms that they used to access to go and bring these rams in Katsina, in Zamfara, that they cannot go. They said it on tape, that they can't go to those places. That's basically why this thing is expensive. So some will now go to Chad to bring in ram. And of course, our currency is weak. Of course, it will reflect in how much they sell it to you and I at the end of the day. So we've got to do something about insecurity. If we are able to defeat these bandits and we defeat them decisively, more people can go into their farms.
Our farmers will come back.
There are cases of people, even after they've worked hard, it's time for harvest, these guys will come and burn down their farms because they refuse to pay the levies. So how can we continue like that? And of course, the issue of our weak currency is there. Everything has gone up. Everything that's imported, the price has gone up astronomically. So the purchasing power of our people, is shrinking by the day. And if that is not the harbinger for inflation, honestly, I don't know what else it is. So, and the advice that they gave us on debt service, we need to do something about it. We can't keep taking loans because there are implications for taking loans. You have to service the loans. And if you are spending nearly every money you earn on servicing debt, it's more than, I think 92 or what percentage again?
Over 90.
Then there's a problem there. There's a problem there. You can't spend nearly all of what you are earning to service debt.
If you are earning, is it 33 trillion? I don't know the last figure, from 20 trillion to 33 trillion, and we're still talking about borrowing more. Yes,
government will tell you that that they've been borrowing, for production. But you and I know that some of these claims, can be hardly, defended. Lately, the government has been celebrating some of its successes in that area. Yes, the IMF is projecting that our GDP will grow by 2.5 in 2022. Last week, government reported that the economy grew by 3.98, and all that. In fact, in trying to celebrate that, we're told that is comparable to what it was in the Jonathan era, in a way. So the government apparently has made so much progress that we can now be saying, well, they've taken us back to that era where things appear to be a bit more prosperous. But the fact of the matter is that even though agri contributes a little over 25% to our GDP, the impact, the real impact on the people, cannot be felt. Jide has talked about food security and all that. Yes, you can make all the claims, you can display all the sacks of rice in Abuja, but how much
rice pyramid?
How much
brought down the price?
How much, do our citizens? I mean, by how much do our citizens have access to?
We used to buy that
cheap
back
price and all that.
9,000, 7,000.
So it's important that we are real, to ourselves. There's so much insecurity, and not many people are going to the farms. Okay, and if you don't have access to the farm, the what agri contributes to the GDP standards risk. So let's not pretend. The government should understand that Nigerians are getting a bit more discerning. So the figures that they bandy out there should be figures that they can comfortably defend. Because we're asking questions and we're
lamenting.
Yeah,
frustration.
and we're holding our government accountable. Nigerians are nearly going hungry. That's the truth.
Okay, an economics Muda Yusuf joins us via Zoom for more discussion. Muda, thank you for staying with us.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you again.
Now,
thank you, Jide.
We list this figure, we churn out these figures maybe quarterly or annually, but a lot of people, they don't get to relate the figures in terms of what government gives to us with what is happening in their homes, as in making direct impacts on the people.
Yes, I agree with you. Jide has said a large part of this matter, because at the end of the day, the economy is about human beings. It's not so much about some of this data. So to the extent that the data does not adequately reflect the feelings of the people or the performance of businesses, especially the SMEs, then there may be issue with the data. And that is why in economics, we talk about growth that is inclusive. You can be posting very good growth. If the growth is not inclusive, if the growth is not reducing poverty, if the growth is not creating jobs, then there is a limit to which you can celebrate this kind of growth. So it is important that we understand that kind of nexus. So in assessing the performance of the economy, yes, some of the GDP numbers, at least technically, a lot of celebration that is the highest that we have posted in 7 years. In Q4, that's Q4 2021, we had a GDP growth of 3.98. In arriving at these figures, I think we need to also understand where the figures are coming from. The GDP figures for 2021, which is the last that we had, is a year-on-year data. In other words, we are comparing 2021 with 2020.
Yeah.
And it's a no-brainer. When you compare 2021 to 2020, you are likely to get a very good improvement.
Yeah.
Because in 2020, the economy was practically completely down. So that was the peak of the recession. In fact, in Q2 2020, the economy contracted by 6.11%, and the year ended up on a negative note, because the GDP performance in that year was about minus 1.92. So that is what we call the base effect. When the baseline with which we are comparing is already an extremely bad year, then even a very minimal performance will begin to project you as a star performer. But the reality is that the economic activities in 2021 were much better than in 2020.
Are you there?
So from that perspective, we can say that yes, 2021 was much better than 2020. That is what we. The
IMF wants us to do something about the sliding value of the naira. Is there anything that the CBN ought to have done that it has not done by way of shoring up the value of our currency?
Well, the value of the currency suffers from a number of very critical factors. First is the productivity in the economy. Because for you to strengthen your currency, you must be able to put something on the table on the global market.
Yeah.
And whatever you are putting on the table must be something that is competitive, both in price and in quality. So that is one way for you to show up the currency. I'm talking now about the supply of foreign exchange. If you are not putting anything out there for people to pick and pay you hard currency, there is no way you can get much of foreign exchange. Unfortunately, because of the very difficult environment we are operating in, and you just lamented, and rightly so, about the security situation. All these things have far-reaching economic effects. So if the productivity is not there for you to even produce and sell to the outside world, where will the foreign exchange come from? The second point is the issue of import bill. Now, unfortunately, because at a time like this, we should be smiling that we have a lot more foreign exchange coming into the country because we are an oil-producing country.
Yes.
Although it's not a good thing, at least to be celebrating the misfortune of others. But the reality is that the current crisis in Ukraine has pushed up oil price to over $100 per barrel.
Yes.
That should normally be reflecting now in our exchange rate. It should be reflecting in our reserves. It may not be that immediate, but even since last year, average oil price last year was $72 per barrel, compared to what we had in 2020 when it was $40 per barrel. In normal times, this will have reflected in stabilizing the exchange rates and even possibly in strengthening it. It should have also been reflecting in our foreign reserves. Not our foreign reserves depending on Euro bond and the special drawing rights. It should be reflecting the performance, at least to a large extent, of what is happening in the oil market. But that is not the story. The exchange rate kept on depreciating. So the capacity of the economy to minimize import, and the biggest import bill we have today,
Petrol.
it's not even so much rice and all these things.
Petrol.
Muda Yusuf breaking it down
Yes.
to it is very interesting because this is reality. I think Muda is back.
The oil price, they had the import bill, and they had the subsidy, they had the corruption, they had the smuggling. So this situation is even going to worsen if we are not careful, because only recently the president transmitted supplementary budget of 2.2 or 2.55 trillion additional to support subsidy, which is making it close to 3 trillion. That was when oil price was around 85, 90. Now oil price is already 100. If this invasion or war turns out to be protracted, then we are in trouble. Because the subsidy is going to go up maybe to 4 trillion, and before you know where you are, the subsidy will almost be consuming the entire revenue. NNPC has been crying that they may not be able to remit anything to the FAC account. You have states that are almost 100% dependent on FAC. How are they going to pay salaries? How are they going to pay the pensioners? How are they going to pay contractors? So we have a lot of dysfunctional challenges. Then the foreign exchange policy itself, I'm sorry if I'm sounding like a broken record. The policy itself is a dysfunctional policy. If you have a policy regime where you have a major differential between the official window and the parallel market window, it's a recipe for failure.
Yeah.
It's a recipe for distortion. It's a recipe for a lot of transparency problems, even corruption.
Yeah.
It's a recipe for round tripping.
Oh.
Because the standard
The gap is too wide.
in the literature, in terms of differential, is between 5 to 10% between the almost 50% differential. That is enough business for some people. If you're able to cross $1 million from the official window to the parallel market window, do you know how much that is? That's over 100 million naira. Which business can be more profitable than that?
No one. No one.
So these are
What you want to
distortions that the policy itself has created. And the policy itself is not allowing foreign exchange to come in. How do you expect people to bring foreign currency to your country if you say they have to bring it in at 416? Meanwhile, they are aware that in the other market, it's about 575.
575.
So it's affecting the supply side of foreign exchange. So apart from the unfortunate story of the oil and gas sector, which has brought us to a state where
Given the dilemma
all
we
our
have found
refineries have
ourselves in,
collapsed,
given the dilemma we have found ourselves in, would you advise the federal government to reconsider its decision to extend, postpone the implementation of the Petroleum Industry Act till sometime next year?
well, not exactly. Not exactly. But again,
That's the last question.
some of these issues are not strictly economic. Now, Jide just talked about the very serious aggravating poverty that we have. So if you are dealing with a population that are already so heavily impoverished, how do you now move on to the issue of saying that you want to withdraw subsidy, even though the subsidy itself has a lot of issues? But it has become highly sensitive matter. It has become highly emotive. And no matter what, how do you want to explain to the citizens? And all of this is coming because we have mismanaged our oil and gas sector, the downstream sector. How can we be in oil business for over 60 years and we don't have refineries that are functioning? We don't have private investors in refineries. It's unpardonable. That is the fundamental issue. So if the government is taking the decision to move the implementation, and in any case, it is not the entire PIA that has been rolled back.
I guess an economist, Muda Yusuf, has just broken it down, and so okay, let's wrap with Muda. I think Muda is back now. On the final analysis, way out, Muda.
Well, the way out is to look at the policy issues. We have policy issues in the foreign exchange market. We have to address it. We need to ensure a market-driven exchange rate. We need to close the gap between the official window and the parallel market window. And let me say that this is also clearly stated in the National Development Plan. That one of the strategic macroeconomic objectives that is of priority is the unification of the exchange rate. It's in the plan which was launched by the president himself. So why are we still here? There an e-window which is supposed to be a proper market.
Same thing with the PIA.
It's not a market. It's not liquid. Because we are fixing rates there, therefore, we are not able to attract supply into that market. So we need to deal with the policy.
Thank you so much, Muda Yusuf, and economics. Sam, you have said it all, Jide.
Yeah.
There's nothing to add.
the fundamentals.
It's just a depressing story.
And it could
It's just depressing.
that where we are now, it's unlikely to get better if you continue to.
No, if those policies are sustained, we can't get better.
But those are the stark realities that we face. The fundamentals don't look good. I mean, other countries are celebrating.
Prices of bringing this in the international market, I think it has entered $100 now. $100.
Yes.
But
we can't
and
celebrate.
instead of it to be a blessing to us,
It's almost a cost.
reverses the case.
Even the Minister of State for Petroleum was complaining to the rest of Nigerians, and I was wondering what he had expected us to do.
Maybe we should intervene on his behalf.
Well, frankly, I think
it will also complain about the subsidy bill, that it does not believe that we consume over 100 million liters a day. Everybody doesn't seem to agree with that figure.
Still, we are yet to unravel.
Individuals at NNPC. You saw the Senate President say, look, if we are not careful, we will stay here and we will be told that it has moved to 200.
Jide, you know how it is, with data. Not reliable. Much of what we bandy around here as a country
unrealistic figures.
Unrealistic figures. And that is why I still have my quarrels. I think that it's not right for a government to dodge a responsibility. That's the way I see it. No matter how we pander around it, you want the incoming government to take all the bullets because you realize that if you do it now, there's going to be uprising and all that, because you want to win an election. I think it's
based on what Muda even said.
Yes.
Even if that new government comes, it's an emotive issue that has to be handled carefully, because I don't know how.
So we're going to stay in this vicious circle. We wake up and we complain that we're making more money, but we can't benefit from it, and then we keep. Where are we crying to?